well prepared. So the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, recently released the findings and recommendations of its Brain Gain report. It's called Solving the Labor Shortage and Competing for Global Talent. We've got CAPRI researcher Priya Alexander here to share the results of that study with us. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Morning, Priya. How are you?
You guys do a lot of this kind of work and a lot of reports, release the findings regularly. Tell me a little bit about the work that went into this one and the catalyst for doing this topic in particular.
Okay, so before I address your question, I want to first start by contextualizing why we did this study.
Yes.
So Jamaica's unemployment rate is currently at 4.5%. This is a record low unemployment rate. Therefore, Jamaica is in a situation that is new. Since emancipation, Jamaica has been a labor surplus economy. Now we are close to full employment.
Labor surplus mean what?
There's more
jobs than people to fill it.
Now we are close to full employment. This means that we have been able to expand employment so much that the labor force is effectively nearly fully employed. And in addition to this, there's a labor shortage, and this labor shortage spans across all skill levels across multiple industries. Now, simply put, Jamaica now has a tight labor market, labor shortage, and employers are finding it increasingly difficult to find workers. So this is where we come in. We have identified a problem because this is a constraint on economic growth, and we set out to find a solution.
And the solution is?
Okay, so one of the findings from the report is that we should increase immigration and make it easier for foreign workers to come into Jamaica to work to fill the labor gaps. And
you know, Priya, I find it sometimes, depending on who you listen to with this situation, you're not sure like what to believe, because some employers are saying we need, like a lot of manufacturing entities are saying we don't have the labor. People are saying yes, there are jobs out there, but not, or there are employees out there, but not at the skill level that we want. And then other folks are saying, what, you're looking to bring in workers when there are workers right here? It's like that's a tension, right?
Right.
So how do we know who to believe or where we stand?
We are to believe the stakeholders, these persons who are directly involved. And I would say, okay, so there's a discussion that there are many persons in the labor force. However, there are 7,200 persons who are outside of the labor force. These are persons who are not employed or seeking work. This represents a third of the working age population. So these people are not working.
Yeah, but
they don't want to work.
They don't
want to work.
Yeah, forgive my ignorance, but if it's a low employment, what's the word? Well, it says
country?
Low employment rate.
Low employment rate. Why we need to bring anybody anywhere?
Because we have a labor shortage, a labor and a skill shortage.
So we just don't have the skills in Jamaica to do it?
We don't have it. We have a lot of potential workers, but they are outside of the labor force.
Give me an idea of a job that we don't have the skilled workers for.
Okay, for example, from our interviews with several stakeholders, they indicated that there was a shortage of high skills like leadership skills, digital skills, and project management skills.
Really?
Also, yes.
Leadership skills right across the board, or in just certain?
In certain industries.
Digital skills?
Yes.
Project management skills?
Yes.
In this country where everybody's doing project management certification now?
Right.
So is it that those folks who are employable, they've been snatched up? Or them gone foreign?
That is most likely, because we have had decades of mass emigration. But also, as it relates to shortage, there's a shortage of specialized and technical skills. And for example, in jobs like port operators, crane operators, hurricane shutter makers, technicians to repair machines, persons with specialized skills.
Again, it makes more sense to bring people from foreign as opposed to teach people locally to do some of these jobs?
That was one proposed solution to enhance training initiatives or increase training of local workers. However, this may not be sufficient to meet present labor demand. Also, there's a case of these workers, after being trained, they migrate. And this has been confirmed in our interviews with several stakeholders. They indicated that, for example, one last year, 300 truck drivers were trained, and nearly 100% of them migrated to Canada. So there was no surplus for the local labor market to get access to.
Part of our challenge is remuneration.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Benefits.
But if I give you my money to train you, can I, the word is bond. Can't you be bonded and say, all right, I'm going to give you your money, I'm going to train you to drive truck, but you have to stay in Jamaica for 5 or 6 years. That don't work?
I'm not sure if those are in place at the moment.
That makes sense?
Well,
It would make sense, yes.
but there are some industries who do that. Some government entities who do that. I'm not sure what happens in the wider labor market.
So how bad is this? How bad is it? I mean, do we have companies now where just have nobody to work for them who they want to work for them? How bad is this?
It is bad because several stakeholders indicated that they really want to import workers. It's that bad. However, what we have identified is that the immigration process, it's a bit restrictive in terms that in terms of the process is long, expensive, and difficult.
As far as getting a work permit and stuff?
In terms of getting a work permit.
Bureaucracy and red tape.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about some of the recommendations that you guys made now. You talked us through the context, you talked us through some of the findings. How do we fix this in the short to medium to long term?
Okay, so some of the recommendations that we have, these are to really increase immigration and to make it easier for these foreign workers to come in.
Because you're concluding that that really is where the most needle-moving change will come from.
Right, because the two proposed solutions that I mentioned was training. However, that may not be sufficient to meet labor demand. No. And the second one would be to source persons who are outside of the labor force. However, that will require significant empirical investigation. And the good news is Priya is currently working on a study involving persons outside of the labor force. So the question of why so many Jamaicans are unemployed or not seeking work or simply don't want to work will be answered.
Yep.
So we'll be launching that later down this year.
I asked the question earlier about the jobs, the positions that need to be filled. Can the average Joe find out that? In other words, if I am watching this interview now and I want a job, how do I know where I go to?
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, they have several avenues in which they collect labour market demand data. One of it is the National Labour Market Survey. However, this survey is done every 5 years. The last one was done in 2017. So we kind of lack present labor market
So I
data.
couldn't find out which companies need workers right now.
At the moment, there needs to be improvement in getting this type of data, yes.
And largely we are looking at these recommendations that we just saw on screen. They're being made for private sector entities as opposed to government. Yes or no?
All
of them?
Yes. So the first recommendation is to eliminate the need for a work permit to require the name of an employer or the name of the workplace.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Effectively, because when this requirement effectively ties the worker to one employer, and this raises the concern of human trafficking as well as potential exploitation by the employer. Also, if you are tied to one employer, if you find a better job opportunity, you won't be able to just go to that job because you're tied. So you'll have to go all over the work permit application process again, which we have found is costly. It can cost up to $200,000
I saw it.
annually.
Remove the second one again, Footy. Remove the need for, okay, we just missed the second one.
Remove the need
to prove efforts to recruit Jamaican workers. Okay. And the third one is, allow highly skilled citizens of any country to move to Jamaica. You know, I guess if you can remunerate the folks abroad, right?
Yeah.
And you need the labor. We can't find it here. It's not resident here.
The bigger thing to me is those who are not working, go get a skill and go get the job. Go get the job.
Sounds easy enough, right?
No, it's not easy. I'm not suggesting it's easy, but it is a way for us to fill the gap, right?
Yes.
And yeah, wow, this is interesting.
Rather.
This is interesting.
Rather.
And then,
Also, one of our recommendations was to eliminate the work permit holding fee. As I mentioned, it's 200,000 Jamaican dollars per year, and this represents 34% of the annual minimum wage. This is the 2023 value.
so question, Priya, when a company brings in someone to work, they bring them in for a specific time, or them just bring them in and them can stay at Jamaica forever if they want? What's the deal there?
Well, as of now, for the work permit requirements, is that you have to name the employer and the place of employment. So effectively, they're tying you to one employer.
And probably for a period as well. So
Yes.
the permit would say for 3 years or for...
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very
I'm curious to hear what the other study reveals as to why Jamaicans don't want to work.
Yes, I'm excited for that study as well, because I'm sure a lot of persons are wondering, why are there so many people outside of the labor force? What can we do to bring them back into the labor force and they can work?
Yeah, thanks for coming. Blessings to you and your family.
Okay, thank
Hi,
you.
Dr. King. Hi, Miss Day.
Yep, Capri researcher, Priya Alexander.
All right, coming up, everybody, the Argentina Sportsman of the Year, Antonio Watson. Not you.
Oh, okay.
Antonio Watson.
Could I be too?
It could be you, but it's not you this time. You are the champion, boy.